I'm 90% sure my Audi TT is hiding some damage which I didn't know about. When I got the car, the interior was melted to bits, which we have changed in the last video to this lovely half Alcantara, half leather one, which is nearly complete with a few little bits ready to do. It's had a wheel fall off in the past, which has damaged the wing quite badly, so that definitely needs replacing. But there's something definitely not right on the back end of the car, and I need to find what that is. But we'll come back to that a little bit later in the video. The first thing which I want to sort out in this video is that front wing, so let's get on with that. Most of my effort so far has been aimed towards the interior of the car, but now it's time to look at the exterior. I've got a new wing in what I believe to be the correct colour here, ready to go on, but it is quite possible that there's some more damage underneath there which I'm not yet aware of. And if you're wondering what's going on with the change of scenery, this is my garage at home. Because the car's mobile now and it starts and runs and drives, I can move it in and out of this garage for when I've not got working, so that's why we're in here now. Once the car's in the air, I've got to get that space saver wheel off, get it on an axle stand, and then I can start taking out the wheel arch liner and looking for the bolts for the wing. I'm really hoping at this point that there's not too much that I wasn't expecting behind all of this, because it's not really been in a massive accident. A wheel falling off shouldn't really cause too much damage. So once the arch liner's off, I can then start taking off the side skirt. There's a trim inside the door shut and then a bunch of bolts behind that, and then the rest is on clips. I've got to take this off to be able to access all of the bolts to be able to remove the wing, and obviously there is a little bit of damage on the side skirt too, so I'm not sure at this point whether they're going to be repairing or replacing that. Right, this wing has definitely been off before, because we're missing a bolt here, we're missing a bolt here, the bolts here are kind of like rusty and the paint's flaked off them, and I think there's another bolt missing. I can't remember where I've seen it, but yeah. This is kind of the reason why I'm not so put off by crash damaged cars anymore, because especially a car of this age and of this mileage, chances are over its life it's had another accident of some sort which has been hidden from the insurance or didn't go through the insurance, meaning that it's probably not as clear a history as what you might think. Like, over 100,000 miles, a car is bound to have a knock of some sort. So the fact that this is written off as a cat end for a bit of a damaged interior, you know, and a bent wing, it's probably had worse than that in its life before anyway. So a category car for me anymore just doesn't make a difference. Once that side skirt's off, I can then take out the bolts which that was hiding, and then go up top underneath the bonnet and take the bolts out which are under there. Once those are out, I can then start removing the washer fluid bottle. I think there was 2 bolts holding this in. One of the brackets is slightly broken, but then I've just got to remove the pumps and the plugs, and that should wiggle out. Now, because the wing was bent in slightly, I did have to bend it back out in order to be able to get the washer fluid bottle out, but obviously the wing's scrapped now, so it doesn't even matter. Now, there was 2 bolts behind here holding the wing in place, but I believe there also should have been another one inside the door shut, which you can only get with the door open, and that one wasn't in there, so I think that's just screaming even more that this wing's been off previously. The next thing to do is remove the bolts which hold the bumper to the wing. There was 2 in kind of the lower part and then 2 up by the headlight too. Once those were done, it was then just this big bracket which kind of holds the wing sturdy against the body of the car. There was just 2 13 or 14 mils, I believe, holding that in, and then the wing should come off the car. And just like that, the old tatty wing is off and ready to be thrown in the bin. Then I decided to have a look at the front bumper, because it was half off at this point, and I don't know if I'm loving it, to be honest with you. I feel like we can do something slightly better on the front end possibly, but we'll have to have a look at the options. But it was quite easy to remove at this point. It was just 4 bolts on the other side and then the ones around the grille, and the bumper was off the car. So there we have the wing off and also the front bumper off. We'll come back to that a little bit later, why I've done that, but we can see the condition of the car underneath those bits, do you know what, is not actually that bad. It doesn't seem like there's any obvious suspension damage. The brake disc actually looks okay, where I was expecting that to be damaged. There doesn't seem to be any damage down here or on the crash bar either, so that's all looking pretty healthy. The only annoying thing which I had along the way was where the front bumper attaches, like here. It's got a bit of a rubbish fitting where this plastic is designed to stop this kind of square rotating, and it doesn't do the best job, so it's a little bit of a faff trying to get the bumper out of there, but I got there in the end. So now it's time to fit up my new wing, and then we can start looking at some other bits on the car. One of the most crucial points, my cameraman skills were not the best and completely out of focus, so I do apologise about that, but the wing goes back on and we can start getting all of the bolts thrown back in. Now, those eagle-eye viewers might notice that this wing was originally red and been painted black before, so it's obviously been on a couple of cars in its life already, and now it's on the 3rd one, and hopefully it's going to stay here. But to fix those parts, just a quick rattle can with some satin black should cover that up nicely. With all the bolts back in and that painted, I can then start putting the washer fluid bottle back in and reconnecting all of the pumps and plugs. To sort out that broken bracket, I managed to get away with just using a big washer to be able to clamp it in place. Okay, so the wing is back on and it lines up, well, pretty nicely really. I don't think that's looking too bad there. I have had to adjust the bonnet slightly and drop that slightly further back so it matches the other side much nicer, but that works absolutely fine now. I've also got the washer fluid bottle back in, but I haven't kind of finished off completely under there because I want to get a new arch liner because the one over there is a little bit damaged, so I may as well get a brand new one and make sure it's nice so I never have to touch it again. Now the front bumper is actually in okay condition. It didn't seem to get damaged by the wheel falling off at all, to be honest with you, but it's just not giving me massive vibes, so I'm not rushing to put it back on at this moment in time. Now before I go and have a proper look at the back end and see what problem I have there, I'm going to do a little bit more work on the interior. So one of the bits that I left off last time was the door card, simply because I just ran out of time, but as we can see the leather doesn't match the Alcantara on the interior now. The door handle is a bit burnt and also it's melted a tiny bit here too, so we may as well change it, and obviously I want it to match those new seats, so yeah, let's get it off. Now, I've been pleasantly surprised by this car, you know, all the way through really, about how easy it's been to work on. If you're looking for a first car to kind of get your teeth stuck into and start working on yourself, I'll be straight with you, this is one car I would actually recommend. In comparison to my BMW, it's been an absolute doddle. Just to get these door cards off, there was 2 bolts holding it in, one behind one of the speaker covers and one underneath the armrest, and the rest is just on clips. So once those 2 bolts are out, I could then start putting my trim tool behind the door card in order to pop those clips out and then just give it a good wiggle and get it off the car. Even the electrical connector, even though there's multiple things on that door card, it was just on one block, so it came off super easy. Now, some of the clips on both of the door cards were damaged. I think it's just inevitable with interior trims that pulling these on and off, they do get a little bit worn. So I used the best ones off both and, you know, put them all on one door card to make sure it was going to fit nicely. So once the cable was connected for the door handle and the electrical connector was in, I could then slide it back on over the top, clip it back in and put the bolts back in. You have got to be a little bit careful with some of the interior clips, just making sure they're lined up exactly right before you whack it in place. I definitely prefer the look and finish of these Alcantara bits rather than having that cream and black leather. I wasn't loving that at all. This is much more my taste. Now, it's only right that when I'm putting a new part on, I want it to be as clean as possible, so I gave it all a good thorough clean, including the Alcantara, and it was pretty much good to go. Right, door cards are now in and feeling much fresher. The next thing I need to tackle is this gear knob because, well, I ripped the gator when taking delivery of the car, and yeah, once that's in really, once I'm sat in the cockpit at least, it will feel, well, complete really. It's not, but it will feel that way. So I think what I've got to do here is, well, oh, that was easy. There's a thing there which you twist, which kind of locks it in, little plastic tab, and then you pull this bit back here. Well, that's what I was doing anyway, and it just seemed to, well, pull off. So, well, that was easier than I thought. So there is the TTS gear knob off. I've got a normal automatic TT replacement. Now, I could either transfer the gator from this one onto this and then go back onto the original one, but considering this is the one that came out the fire, I think what I'm going to do is transfer this knob to that gator and transfer these buttons into this one. Well, maybe. We'll just see how I get on, but that's my POA. I thought this part was going to be relatively easy, but I did not know at this point what I was letting myself in for. This was the longest part of the day, no questions asked. So I managed to take off the old gear knob and then put the new one on pretty easily and then transfer over the buttons. That was not a problem at all. But when it came to fitting it to the car, this is where my problem started. What I've managed to do is trap one of the cables for the mag ride, the traction control and the spoiler in the centre console when I took the centre console out. So I've got to try and fish it out, which hopefully I can do it without taking the whole centre console out again, because that will be long. So in order to rescue that plug, I actually ended up having to unbolt the whole centre console. I didn't actually have to take it out, but it just gave me enough wiggle room in order to pull that round and get it to where it needed to be. And then once I'd done that, I could plug it in and then try and push it into place, but this didn't go to plan either. So now I've got all the cables through and plugged it in, but I've got another problem. This kind of tab thing here, it doesn't seem to be like clicking on properly, I don't think. So I'll try it once more just in case, but yeah, it's all the way down, and then this just doesn't have the... Let's pull it off and have another look. So I don't know if you're going to be able to make this out, but you know, you have to take my word on it. I can see there's 2 springs here. One of them has come off, so that might be half of the reason. And I think the other thing's got to be to do with this tab just buried in here. So I'm just going to have a play with it. It's not going to be great content, so I won't film it. But hopefully I can get it fixed, and hopefully then it will just push onto the car. Fingers crossed. Okay, I don't want to talk about it, but it is now working. I can get every gear, the gate is in, everything's looking fine. You know, even over here, it's absolutely fine. There's no problems there at all. But if you're getting the same car as me, do not do the same thing and just rip that gator up, because I ended up having to pull the whole gear knob apart and reassemble all the little springs, everything like that, to be able to put that back on the car. So if you can avoid doing that on your TTS, 100% avoid it. But even though it did take me like an hour of faffing around, I've got there in the end and we are now sorted. I've got the door cards on, they're looking sweet. The interior, apart from these little sun visor clips which I broke, from this angle, is looking pretty good. I've still got to clean up the dash and the vents and also the dials behind there. It's just still a little bit smoky and a bit grubby, so I think I'm going to pull those out and then like polish the plastic to just make sure that's looking top notch. This radio as well, I think this is just, I don't even think this is damage from the smoke, but I think that's just kind of how they get. I'm not a fan of that, so we'll have to come back to that in another video. Well, the interior is now looking a lot better. The wing is now looking a lot better. Now we can have a look at what this weird little noise is on the back end. Now, I noticed this when pulling the car in and out of the garage at my mum and dad's house, and the best way to describe it is like when the car's, I don't know, when it comes over a little bump or something, it is with a little dong. So, I don't know, maybe it's like a loose top mount or there's something loose under there, so I'm going to take off this back wheel and let's have a quick inspection, see what we can find. On first inspection, it all looks, well, pretty normal. I can't see anything that's like straight in your face obvious, but there's definitely something not right back here. I don't actually think this is anything to do with what happened up front with the wheel falling off. I think this is just actually normal wear and tear. I'm hoping that you can see this on camera, but it just seems to move a little bit too easy in like the shock absorber area. I don't know, it might be. I think the shock might have had it. On the other side, even though I didn't hear the noise from that side, it looks like there's something else going on too. Now, I'm not going to jack this side up, but it's pretty obvious. You can see there's a lot of like surface corrosion, which I think is going to be caused by the fluid out the shocks. I think that's what it is anyway. It may well be something else. If you think it is something else, please let me know in the comments section, because it might be really helpful. But I'm not going to lie, I was kind of hoping for something a little bit more dramatic than that, but it could be a nice easy fix and an excuse to upgrade as well. And here is something else I've noticed on the back of the wheel. Obviously we've only got 3 of these wheels, but this might answer a few more questions. You can see here it says 5x120, which actually means it's a BMW wheel. Where Audis and Van Group cars typically are 5x112, this is about the gaps in between the bolts and the size of those. A BMW, or you know, there's a few other things out there which have 5x120. What it means in short is these wheels do not fit this car. But that would give a solid answer as to why this wheel fell off and why they're not running all of the wheel bolts in every wheel. Right, next thing I want to tackle is the damage on this side skirt. So let's go and see my friend at the body shop.
Welcome to my body shop.
Here we have Matthew, my side skirt, and it's got some damage on the end of it, and I think we can fix that.
We sure can, because at my body shop we make dreams a reality. We take cars from things like this to make them look like this. So one side skirt is not going to be an issue for me.
So tell me, what can we do with my side? You just scratched it, man.
Where?
Just there. It'll buff out.
It'll buff out.
So it's cracked. It's cracked on this front edge here.
Yeah, can see that. See that, Chris?
Thank you. Where the wheels come off, but around the back,
yeah,
it's not cracked.
So I would say, in my experience of body shopping, which is multiple years, mainly my whole life, I would say we don't need to be doing any plastic welding from the back, because there's none to be done. There's no cracks in there, so you're looking positive from there. I would probably say what we need to be doing is giving it a bit of heat, kind of flexing it back into its original position. Maybe work a bit of body filler in there to just get out a few of the dents, a few of the low spots, and make this absolutely spot on, so you can be driving away with that dream car you deserve.
Thank you. Let's do it. First thing we're going to need then, I think, is a heat gun.
Yeah, got one of them.
Where?
A bit of diesel reek.
That's really good for you.
Yeah, we're low on diesel.
Have you got a normal heat gun then, or?
Yeah.
How did I forget? Just the tool. And you've got a heat gun.
This one's electric, not diesel.
This is professional.
There we go.
I feel like an apprentice. You did that.
I didn't do that.
You did?
No, I didn't.
You did.
I know how to get that out.
How?
Bit of the old teacup.
Let's melt it. Yeah. Almost invisible.
Wait for it to cool.
You're the best.
Yeah, Body Shop.
Yeah, that's the right thing.
Yeah, that does say Body Shop.
Like, you can tell there is a slight colour difference, but the blend...
No, you wouldn't be able to tell on camera. Give it to
Feel it. Is that not me? I can't believe how well that's gone. I can't get rid of that.
But I charged £300 for that, but you're paying for my knowledge over the years.
Yeah, no, you're not just paying for the 10 minutes work it took, you're paying for the 30 years experience.
Yeah, it is, yeah. At least 30 years. It's like 35 years. 28. Bloody brilliant, that.
Oh, impeccable.
Wow.
Give it the Body Shop blow. So when you need a body shop, make sure to go to Matt's Body Shop, because his body shop is the best body shop in town. Subscribe.